Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program Islam Explained. We are joined by our theologian, Omer Atilla. Welcome to the program, Omer.
Thank you, Aisa.
Omer, I'd like to ask you if you could explain to us the proof and existence of God. Many people, or some people out there, claim that proving the existence of God cannot be done. What would you say to these claims?
Well, Aisa, my first response would be we don't really need to prove the existence of God as believers. There are two reasons for this. The first reason is that the existence of God is so evident that it doesn't need any proof or arguments. And the second reason is the burden of proof technically lies upon the denier, the one who denies. But one more maybe point, which is very important from an atheistic perspective. Scientifically, atheism has no basis, no grounds. There are no scientific or philosophical arguments to disprove God. We can approach it from there. But like you said, maybe we need to convince people in some way as well. And throughout the history, history of religion and theology, there have been many proofs or evidences put forward for the existence of God. Things like the theological argument, the design argument, intelligent design argument, ontological argument, kalam cosmological argument, teleological argument. So there are many arguments that support the existence of God.
Sounds like a lot there.
Yes, yes.
If we could just go through one of them, at least on one of these episodes, and we could do maybe other episodes as well, covering those topics. It sounds like a very large area.
Maybe we should start with the kalam cosmological argument, maybe one of the components of it, because there are two arguments that goes under the cosmological argument, and one of them is the temporal regress argument. And it's mainly based on this concept. Everything that begins to exist must have a reason for its existence, a purpose, or a cause for its existence. And we know that in science, one of the most fundamental principles is causality, causation, which is basically defined as every event causes another event to occur. And if we analyze all the occurrences, happenings, and phenomena in the universe, we see that they occur through a causality, through causation. And when we look at the models of the universe itself and go back in time to a point where the universe actually originated, which is about 13.7 billion years ago, we see that the universe was caused by an event called the Big Bang. But when we analyze the Big Bang itself from a physics perspective, we know that it becomes an effect also. And as we said, every effect needs a cause, a preceding cause. And Big Bang itself must have a cause as well. So this argument suggests that that cause is no other than God. God is the cause of the Big Bang, and therefore the creator of the entire universe.
But then they claim that, okay, if God caused the Big Bang, okay, then what caused God? And, they come up with the claim of, if God created this, who created God?
Yeah, that's a common claim too, and sometimes people think that the believers are cornered with this argument, but in reality, it usually works for the believers as well, because technically, when we look at the universe, you cannot have an infinite regress, as I mentioned before, and you cannot have an actual infinite either. What actual infinite actually means is this. A set of things cannot regress for infinity. They all have to have a beginning. And in the universe, we know that the universe is made up of set of things. Because if we go all the way to fundamentals, like, for example, quantum physics, even, particles in an atom, they have lifespans as well. We know that the stars have lifespans as well. Approximately a star lives about 10 billion years. Galaxies have a lifespan. The entire universe has a lifespan. Therefore, it had a beginning. And it was caused. Now, if we are saying that God is the cause, then God cannot be same as the thing that he caused. If we assign dependability to God as well, and if we say that God was created by another God, then the argument would continue and we would enter into an infinite regress again. You know, that God was caused by another God, another God, another God, and it would go to infinity. And there are some philosophical arguments in regards to this. For example, you know, if I ask you, you know, what pulls the last car or last wagon on a train, you would obviously say the one in front of it.
The one in front of it, that's
and,
right.
and if we ask in the same line of questioning, what pulls that one? The one in front of it, the one in front of it. But when we reach the locomotive, we cannot ask the same question anymore, because the locomotive pulls all the wagons behind it, but it's self-powered. It also pulls itself. So the line of questioning, it cannot go for infinity. We cannot have infinite regress. There is another example or analogy that I use quite often, the chair example. You know, if I'm sitting on a chair that has no two back legs, I would obviously fall back. So in order to avoid myself from falling backwards, I placed another chair behind my chair, underneath my chair, but that second chair doesn't have back legs either. So I would still fall. So if I keep on placing two-legged chairs at the back, I can have 1 billion chairs, you know, one after the other. When I sit in the first one, I would still fall unless there is one chair at the very end that supports all the chairs and supports itself as well. So what we mean by this, you cannot have a set of infinite objects. You know, this is called the actual infinite. But with God, we are talking about an absolute infinite, not an actual infinite. So God creates, he causes, but he doesn't need to be caused. As I said, if you say he was caused, then you would have another cause, another cause,
right.
another cause,
And
we cannot go infinitely backwards. So there has to be a point where a being that caused everything, but that does not need to be caused himself.
That sounds quite logical, Omer. I'd like to thank you for explaining one of those arguments, and if you may, we could continue with other arguments on other episodes as well. So
Inshallah.
I'd like to thank our viewers for joining in Islam Explained, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.